Welcome to the family with
Co-host Catherine Brandt.
Alex Bernard Rasmussen.
Michael Bryant.
And Andy Brant Bernard.
We are back. I just announced on the first show that we do, and I might end up doing like 3 or 4 shows now. I was going to do the opposite.
You
But
need to
no,
calm down.
Perfect.
I am not kidding you. The
Don't
last 4
start.
days, and you can ask Nana. Last 4 days, I got more and more depressed because I had nothing to do. I didn't know it was because of the show either, but not being on this show really bothered me.
Well, that's like every time that you're like, oh, I'm going to do X amount of more years and then I'm going to retire. I'm like, there's no way.
Well, you were right about that because I don't think I could ever retire.
No.
I don't think I could
I
do
don't
it.
think you
Andy.
could.
What's
Yes.
that?
Password book for Dad. I think it's a good idea.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as long as every time he changes it, you write the new one down in there. Yes.
Good luck to you.
Why don't you people? Hey, great to be on the show with you. I do the first show. Everybody's nice to me. Now you guys stabbing me right in the
Oh,
back.
they were nice to you?
Blame Mom.
Yeah, it's Mom's
Blame me.
fault.
What
It
do
is
you
your
mean?
fault.
You need a password
They
book.
spend too much time with you.
Yes, I'd say that's
Is that what it
probably
is?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Mom
Well,
said, can confirm.
See,
I'm a-
I love you because I haven't seen you for a while.
But I'm a sweetheart of a guy, so I would imagine.
Well, another thing that happened, which, I mean, I'm sorry, but it's true. You were over-medicating yourself with medical marijuana to
I
sleep.
certainly
And you
was.
got very depressed and bummed out and very weird. And your
You
memory,
got extremely
You didn't see the
weird.
dragons again, did you?
I am telling you.
But his brain, it was like his brain
Oh my
just wasn't even
God.
on.
Yeah.
He was just like, what are we doing
Yeah.
for dinner tonight? We're going to the Amigo. So what are we gonna do for dinner tonight? It was like, are you 112?
I know,
And
I
you've
was-
lost all cognitive
I was
function.
like, should we take him to the ER? What should we do with this memory problem?
Well, let
so
me-
I just a cautionary tale though. I know that you have been telling people that medical marijuana is great for sleeping and it has helped you sleep, but overdosing yourself is
Overdo it.
really a bad idea.
But-
If you're finding that you have any memory, if your memory is starting to slip when you're taking medical marijuana, stop taking the medical marijuana because it is linked, right, Andy?
To what?
Memory and medical
Yes,
marijuana
absolutely.
is
Well, taking a lot of it, like if you, it's probably not like if
I
you're.
think it depends on the person.
Well, that's probably true. It probably does depend on the person.
well. I'm just saying, if you've started taking medical marijuana and your memory is crap, you either back off of it or stop taking it and see if it gets better because you need to worry about your memory,
Yes.
like everybody does.
Okay, so I have a question for you then. Why do they even sell 100 milligram tablets or gummies
That's probably for
of
people
medical
with,
marijuana?
like glaucoma or something.
Yeah, there's people who take stuff like that.
Yeah,
Have you
What
met?
do you mean, 100 milligrams?
Yeah, well,
cancer treatment patients. You might need just
Yeah.
like load up because who cares if your memory's bad if you're
That's
dealing
true.
with.
I don't want
cancer
to
treatment.
remember cancer treatment.
Yeah.
So
Well, I went from 100 milligrams. I am now doing 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
When I was in California and I had THC for the first time in my life, when Dan and I were there, I had a drink. I had a 5 milligram drink and I drank half of it because I was so worried that I was gonna
yeah, that's what I
like
do.
be
Pop a bolt.
Trip out.
feel weird. Because I always have like the opposite reaction that people should have. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you just have this THC drink and you just feel like chill." And I'm like, I'll probably have I'll probably cry and have a panic attack. I didn't. Nothing happened.
That's good.
So.
Oh, you didn't feel anything at all?
No, I drank half of it, and then like an hour or two later, I drank the second half, and then the only thing that I felt, which this could have just been whatever, I was like, moving sounds like a lot of work.
Well, it does.
Well, it does.
That was
So
the
your
only thing.
muscles
Like
did
I
relax.
wasn't like, but I think the thing is like, because when Dan describes when he takes THC to me, and he's like, "Oh, you just all of a sudden just feel like your body just relaxes."
So chill.
and
That's
you
not
just
how I
feel-
felt at all.
And you just feel calm. And
Me
I'm like,
either.
I told him, I'm like, that's how I feel anyway. Like I can just sit down and be like, I feel great. Like this is lovely. I feel very calm. I feel relaxed. Like I don't. And I'm like, this is, you don't feel this? typically with that, what? I don't know. And so I'm like, I don't need that to feel that way because I feel that way all the time.
Everybody's
enough.
different.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really see how people can do THC and alcohol. That's a hell of a combo
I
right
feel
there.
like I'd sleep for like 20 hours.
I think
Right.
it's a skill set that they've,
Yeah. I think it's an
Yes.
acquired
To build a
state.
tolerance.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, advanced alcoholics can drink quarts
Oh
of
yeah.
booze.
They can drink 3/5 in a day and be like, oh, I'm just going to go to work now.
Right.
Really?
If one of us did that, we would
No.
be dead.
I had
Yeah.
Yourself.
I
No, I'm
had
just kidding.
I had an old fashioned at dinner. I went to Orchestra Hall with my mother-in-law and two of my
An
sister-in-laws.
old-fashioned? What are you, 80?
I love old fashioned.
That's good.
Oh, that's a hot drink.
Yeah.
That's Dan's
Yeah, I know.
drink of
Everybody's
choice.
That's
been
Dan's
drinking
drink of choice.
those.
And like
Is that
that's
the one
what
they
I
make smoking where you get the thing?
sometimes
Yeah,
it
yeah.
depends on the old fashioned.
If you're
But like I
fancy.
can't I haven't been enjoying drinking wine at all. Like
I'm
lately.
really-
I don't
really
know.
like
Like
wine.
I had a glass of white wine when we were in Florida and I was drinking it and I just was like, "Bleh." I don't know.
Yeah.
So I had an old fashioned at dinner and then we went to Orchestra Hall because they did a tribute to the Beatles. And then my sister-in-law got like, I don't remember what it was on ice to like drink during the show. It was some sort of whiskey. And I was like, sure, I'll have that to like sip. I took 2 sips and I was like, I'm going to fall asleep. I just kept yawning
Yeah.
and yawning. And so I ended
can
up
be how
dumping
it
it
is.
in the garbage because I was like, I can't hack it. It's too much.
Are you a lightweight? Are you a lightweight? Are
I'm
you
such
a lightweight?
Oh, such a lightweight.
My sister did that one time when we were down in Arizona. What was she talking about? Wine. I think
Oh,
we
yeah,
had a
that's
glass of
right.
wine, and she's like,
She had like 2 sips.
"Yeah."
Oh, such a lightweight.
She must have said it 1,000 times. We're like, "We got it. You're a lightweight."
Yes.
I think I actually said that. I was like, Pam, so are you a lightweight?
Isn't Toots all drunk on like a couple hot toddies or something?
Oh,
No,
it was
I brought over Bailey's Irish
Bailey's,
cream
that's right.
delicious.
for Christmas, and she had never had it before. And Tom, you told me she never drank.
Oh, my mother was not a big
She
drinker.
did not drink.
No.
And she said, "What's that now?" And I said, "It's called Bailey's Irish Cream." She said, "Can I have a glass?" And I said, "There's alcohol in here." And she said, "That's okay." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Look, she's a grown up. She can have a glass of Bailey's if she
An adult.
wants." So I poured her a glass of Bailey's, and maybe this much on ice, and she took a couple of sips, and she's like, "Well, that's great."
Really just
And I think she had 2, maybe 3 very small sips of this Bailey's. And she started railing on your brother.
Oh, yeah.
You were always an asshole. And we were all laughing. And she's looking around like she's perfectly serious and is like, "Oh,
yeah.
Toots is a little drunk."
Yeah, seeing my mother drunk was not the usual deal.
I wonder
I'll
how
tell
she
you.
felt the next day.
Oh.
I couldn't believe she got zesty on maybe 4 sips.
It is
to this-
interesting how like your tolerance. Well, 2020 or 2023, I was sick basically the entire year,
Yes.
and I didn't drink that entire year because I was like alcohol plus bad stomach, not a good combo.
No, not a good.
And then about a year later, after I was better, I drank like a glass of wine, and I was like, "Wow, this is really hitting me hard."
Yeah.
All it took was a year, and basically my tolerance was gone.
Yeah, you're clean you all out. and
Yeah.
You throw her back in there.
Well, that's
Yeah.
like anytime, like Dan and I used to do those juice cleanses,
Mhm.
and we would be done with the juice cleanse and then like eat dinner. I'd just like make dinner how I would always make it, and we'd be eating. And I'd be like, "There's this pepper is so
yeah.
strong, and like just cracked pepper." And I didn't use like an
Yeah.
exorbitant amount, but I was like, I can taste the pepper so much, and that's after 3 days
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
just drinking juice.
When
Like,
Melissa and I
food
did keto and I ate candy for the first time in like 6 months, I was like, "Wow, 1 M&M is enough for me." Thanks.
yeah,
Doesn't it taste really great after a juice cleanse?
yeah, where you're
I
just
did
like
the 5-day one a
flavors.
couple of times,
Oh.
and it's just like everything tastes so much better.
Yeah.
A
You
cup
did
of
the
coffee
5-day? I
breaks
never
the
got to
world.
5 days.
I got the 5 days.
Yeah, we
I
did-
did it 2 or 3 times.
Dan and I did 5 days a number of times before the kids were around, but we decided once they were aware enough to
Whatever happened to our juice cleanse lady? She used
They're
to come in and
gone.
talk to us.
Yeah,
Juice
Juice
So Good, yeah.
It's
they're-
now
so
called
good.
So Good, So You.
and they're not a
Yes.
store anymore. I don't
And
think.
yeah, they don't have a
Yeah.
store anymore,
Oh.
and
I
they
think COVID
just
took 'em out,
They
or-
just sell like shots,
Yep.
like wellness shots to like you'll see them at like Publix and
Oh.
Whole Foods and stuff. Yeah,
They didn't get bought out by somebody. They just.
No, I
Maybe.
think
I
COVID
don't
took them out, took the
Hard to
store out of the
say.
Skyway and a whole deal.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, that's too bad. Now you guys are this stuck in my head the rest of the day because
What?
I still have friends that I run to. I don't see much anymore, but I run into them, and you got to do the Toots thing. I said, what are you talking about? Because this is back in the day when you had house phones. There were no mobile phones when I was a kid. You had house phones, and they said you've got to do your impression of Toots. That's my mother answering the phone. I said, okay. My mother, when she answered the phone, and you can all tell me if I'm wrong or not, I am not kidding. When my mother answered the phone, she'd go, hello.
Meow. Yeah.
She'd go,
I remember Andy for the longest time when you answered the phone. You reminded me of my old farmer guy, Clarence Kemp.
Clarence.
What a guy's got to do. Clarence Kemp. He used to cut my hay for me. He was like the sweetest
Clarence was
guy
the best.
in
I
the
love
world. He lived in Corcoran.
I loved
Yeah.
going to pick up hay with you.
I know. He was such a great guy.
was.
He'd be standing there talking to him, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, you need some sweet corn?" He'd go jump at his giant garden that he did all by himself. He was like in his, I don't even know, mid-80s. He
Yeah.
still was
Yep.
doing all of this stuff. He'd go get you some sweet corn. He was the greatest. But Andy sounded like Clarence when he answered the phone for, I don't know, 10 years of your life, Andy. It's like, well, how does this new fandangle thing work?
Louis
Hello?
Louis Anderson said it perfectly. Andy answers the phone like he's never seen one before.
I don't
That's right.
didn't like
Hello?
Who, Louis
I know.
Anderson said
For a long
that?
time, I did not go on the. If I could avoid it, I didn't talk on the phone.
Oh my God, just trying to get you kids to order a pizza.
Yeah, I hate it.
No, I'd rather starve to death than order a pizza. It's like, what is wrong with you two?
Maybe
God.
because
Thank
we had a
you.
father that trust no one. Everyone is out to steal you.
There was a place in St. Louis Park that we ordered pizza. Me and your dad ordered from a couple of times, and since it was going to your house, we'd say Tom Bernard, but I paid for it with my card.
Yeah.
And from then on, every time I called that place, they always thought it was Tom
Oh.
Bernard.
Oh.
So every time I'd show up, they'd always be like, "Oh,
No, not right. Not him.
Oh wow, isn't that
How
nice?
boring.
Isn't
So
it?
I ran into a person, I think it was 2 weeks ago, who was convinced you guys still live in Dayton. I'm like, no,
It's
that's
been a
long
while.
time
That's
ago."
Oh my
quite
God.
some
It's
time.
been
Not
20
so much.
years since we lived in
I know
Dayton.
they thought they'd saw you.
Thanks
there
for
in a couple
listening.
years. No, I
Yeah.
don't think they've lived in Dayton. That was like 8 moves
Oh
ago.
boy.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was wonderful living in Dayton. No, we did love living in Dayton.
Yes.
And Andy and Alex now have kids.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they have children now.
Hey.
I've moved many times. Yeah, things have changed.
Yes, they certainly have.
Who was
I
the you're talking about Clarence, but then who was the other guy who said Ostigo?
Ostigo, yeah, that's right. He said Ostigo instead of Otsego.
Was that
A lot of
Dan?
people said
The
that.
I think
barn?
I do that
It
somewhere.
might
guy?
have been.
There was Ostego, Otsego. There was all sorts of interpretations.
Dan Lemke worked for us for a
Dan.
long time.
Is that the
working with
sports guy from Care 11? Remember that guy? He was like Edina and
Oh, Edina, yeah.
Wayzetta.
I talked to my
Yeah,
insurance
Edina.
people today to see if something was like in network, and she was like, "In Eden, Minnesota." And I was like,
Eden,
Eden.
Minnesota.
Isn't he
No.
also the guy who couldn't name the Red Sox park? Couldn't name where the Red Sox play?
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on one of the shows he like couldn't name where the Red Sox play, which is like,
And he's a sports guy.
yeah.
Oh.
Can you do that, Andy or Alex?
Are they Wrigley Field?
No, it's Cubs, but that's not
It's the
bad.
Cubs.
You
That
know.
sucks.
I don't know.
But you're not a baseball fan,
Yeah.
so
I
that
am
makes
not a
sense.
baseball fan.
In
Catherine, can you name it?
Boston.
No,
Nope.
I
So
don't know.
you'll know Green Monster. You'll know when you hear it.
Yeah.
I'll know when I hear it, but I don't know it.
Fenway Park.
Fenway. Okay, yeah.
Fenway,
You're a sports
baby.
guy, you're doing
Yeah,
the
You
that's
sports,
should
kind
know
of
that.
like
You should know.
your.
Yeah.
That's like a
Yeah,
big
that's
deal.
one of those that you might want to know.
And who was Fenway?
Fenway it's a place. It's like a causeway or
Yeah, but what's it named after?
it's named after the
Mr.
park.
Fenway.
I think. I don't know.
Johnny
So there wasn't a Fenway, a guy named Fenway?
Lucas Fenway.
I don't know. There might be a guy, but I think
See, I don't know that either.
area where it is. I think.
No question about it.
So you got Fenway.
Have you ever been in a Fenway? You take the Fenway. Straight
And then
ahead.
you take the other way.
Yeah.
All right, so should we go back to Sage
Oh,
Yes,
Oh.
that's right.
story? Because
Yes,
people
we should go back to say they want to
people-
know.
Yeah, people want to know.
people
what
don't.
happened.
If you don't talk about it, they don't know about it, and they don't care.
That is true.
I care deeply though. Although he didn't bring me back a croissant, so I'm
Yeah, there you
I
go.
thought they'd for sure bring a box home, but
I thought they
No,
would.
we did not. Sage
Le
was
week.
in the
Le week
hospital
croissant.
while we were in Florida for 3 nights because he had pneumonia and bronchitis, and he had low oxygen
and an ear infection.
and
wow.
an ear infection. Yeah,
And so, did they ever figure out what it was?
it was just so mycoplasma.
Yeah, mycoplasma.
Mycoplasma
Pneumonia.
is a bacteria
Hmm.
that causes walking pneumonia. And a lot of the time, people, like if you hear like kids or adults with like a wet cough,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is, I guess. But a lot of the time, people can fight it off. And they have a cold. Sometimes they get like a fever, and it's like a regular run-of-the-mill cold. But it is one of those things that all of a sudden can cause your lungs to fill up with fluid, and then
Wow.
you get really sick. So on the way, Christmas night, I went in to check on Sage, and I could tell that he was like working hard to breathe, but then he like rolled or like coughed and then was fine. And he had a cough for like 5-6 days at this point, and like he was coughing all night long every night, and he was like tired off and on during the day, but there was nothing, he wasn't running like high fevers or anything. And then all Christmas night, I was just kind of like watching him because I was like, pneumonia has been going around like
Right.
crazy this year. And we were like, okay, he's fine. We'll catch, because our flight, we had to wake up at like 5:30 in the morning to go to Florida. So we were like, okay, we'll wake up and we'll see how he is in the morning. And he was totally fine all morning, walking around the airport, whatever. And then our flight was delayed an hour, so we had to sit in the airport for an hour, and he was totally fine. And then we got in the plane. Our flight was delayed another hour.
Mm.
He was fine. And then when we got up in the air, probably halfway through the trip, I could tell he was working hard to breathe again.
That's kind of scary.
And I was like, started to get a little bit like, okay, when we land, we just need to take him to a doctor. But then we landed and he was totally fine again. And I was like, he's got a lot of gunk in his throat, and maybe something was like blocking. I don't know. And totally fine. When he saw my parents, he was all excited. He was jumping off of the curb, acting completely normal. And then we got to the hotel and dropped our stuff off. And then we were walking back to my parents' house, and he was just like, I can't walk. I'm too tired. I can't. And so I was like, we're just going to take you to urgent care because you are too like,
Up and down.
it's too up and down now. And so we dropped Fawn off and with my parents, and then we took him to urgent care, and we were like, he seems to be having a hard time breathing. And then they said that they would see us in 40 minutes, and it took 2 hours to see anybody.
Yep.
And we went in, they checked his oxygen levels, and he was at 91%.
That's not that bad.
And you want to
No.
you want to be at 95.
Yeah,
to
Mom was
100.
telling me he was at like 27, and I was like, no, he would be
That was
extra.
some other thing.
He's
point.
dead.
Yeah.
That was some other thing.
Well, his respiratory rate was really high.
Must be what she was thinking of. Yeah.
His respiratory rate was really high because he was like, he was using his accessory muscles to breathe.
Yep.
And so she was like, his oxygen's too low. He needs to go to the hospital. So then we went to a pediatric emergency room, and they gave him all these things. And the doctor there was like, we're going to treat him like he's having an asthma attack because there are all these viruses going around right now that basically represent as an asthma attack, even if you're not asthmatic.
So they give him a nebulizer?
They did like 3 treatments of a nebulizer. They gave him a steroid, and she was like, he also has an ear infection. And if he does have pneumonia, then the antibiotic that we're treating for the pneumonia will take care of the ear infection. And he's never had an ear infection in his life. He's
Really?
never had like he's never had anything. He had strep once.
Didn't he go to daycare or school or anything?
He's been at
Wow,
he's
that's
been at
crazy.
preschool. He was at
Wow.
ECFE.
Well, I mean, he's had colds and fevers, but
yeah,
nothing.
but I mean, he's never
Ear
had
infection.
He's
Yeah.
never had. Neither of my kids have ever had an ear infection.
Wow.
And ear infections are something that can happen if this mycoplasma like kind of takes over.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we were in the ER and they were like trying to do all these things. And they were like, his oxygen level just isn't staying high. So they're like, he has to stay overnight and he has to be put on, they put regular oxygen on him and it wasn't helping. And so they had to put pressurized oxygen to like push the air into his lungs to help the fluid because it was his left lung that was filled with fluid, which you can't even see on an X-ray.
Nope, that would be
Oh.
the case because
Yeah.
it's clear. Yeah.
Well, then why do they always want to give you a chest X-ray
Because
for pneumonia?
regular pneumonia, you can see the fluid.
Right.
Mycoplasma pneumonia, you can't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Depends on where it is, how
Yes.
it presents.
Yes. So his wet lung was his left lung. And yeah, so they put him on the pressurized oxygen. He couldn't eat for almost a full day because
Which
of
he loved.
pressurized oxygen because it can make you aspirate.
Mhm.
And yeah, the entire time he was like, "When can I have a croissant?"
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit.
Yeah, and I was like, and it was like overnight he couldn't eat, and that was like most of the time that he couldn't eat. He was sleeping generally, and then he woke up in the morning, and they turned his oxygen down overnight, and then they turned it down again in the morning, and then by like midday he was able to eat because he could. Once it was at a certain level, he was allowed to eat. And yeah, he ended up spending 3 nights. I have a friend who has 2 kids that have been hospitalized multiple times for respiratory stuff, and she's like, "Just so you know, it's going to be longer than you think because they want them to sleep an entire night without oxygen before they go home."
Yeah.
Wow.
Because otherwise they could get apnea and
Yeah.
die.
Yep.
Yeah, and he actually could have gone home before the 3rd night, but it wouldn't have been until 10 to 11
Sure.
p.m.
And so
because
might
of
as well
like
stay
shift
overnight.
changes
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. And we were like, let's just stay overnight, and like it can't hurt to be monitored one more night, and
Yeah.
like he'll get better sleep this way and
In a
whatever.
hospital? I don't know about that.
He actually,
Slept just
He-
fine.
and me too. Like I slept with him every night because he asked me to stay with him.
Oh, so they didn't
At
keep
night.
barging in every half an hour?
Oh, they did, but we
Oh,
slept through it.
Wow.
There you
Age and I are
go.
good sleepers. There actually was one time where the first night they were taking blood to see if there was any like co-infections and blah blah blah. And a nurse came in, turned all the lights on, and I woke up. Sage was dead asleep, and the guy pricks him with a needle, takes a bunch of blood, and Sage, while sleeping, just goes, "Dad, stop."
Dad's taking my blood again.
Dad's taking blood.
Oh, to be able to sleep like that, can you
know.
imagine?
I know, and he and I didn't the first night didn't get to sleep until after 1 o'clock in the morning because we didn't get into our hospital room in the PICU because he was moved from the ER to the PICU because he was on the pressurized oxygen, so he had to be monitored. Blah blah blah. We didn't get in the room until after midnight, and so I was like, once we settled in the room, I was like, okay, we can watch a couple episodes of Bluey now that we're in the room and we can like just settle and here we are, and then we have to go to sleep. So we didn't fall asleep until probably 1:15 in the morning. So he was very much asleep. And I slept in the bed with him every night, and I slept totally fine. Like the nurses kept on saying like, "Oh, when I came and checked on him," or "Oh, when I turned his oxygen down last night," and I was like, I slept through that. And like the lights in the hallway were on, and there were no curtains, so the
I
room
can't
was
sleep
like,
in a hospital.
and
No, when Colin was born, I remember I was sleeping on that like bench thing that they have.
oh yeah,
So comfy.
Melissa was across the room in her bed, and they'd come in and check on her, and they'd try to like whisper so I wouldn't wake up.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean,
No.
you think whispering is very quiet when you're doing it, but when
No.
you're across the room, when 2 people are whispering, it sounds like,
yeah.
Yeah.
like, okay, it's really not helping that much.
Yeah, I know. Well, and that's why I was like, I'm fine sleeping at the hospital instead of Dan, because I was like, I can sleep through
Not me.
much stuff, and like Dan would have been fine. But also, I'm also smaller, and
But
the
he
bed
was
is
taking so much
very
blood
small.
that, you know.
He would have been taking blood constantly. Like,
When when you guys came over here to pick up the car so you could bring him to the doctor. Sage was, I don't want to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Well, it'll only take a half an hour. If it takes 30 seconds, I'll go. And then he has to be in the hospital for
Like, okay.
days.
And he's like, it's going to take 10,000 hours.
I
And
know.
they were like, no,
Well,
it'll
it
be
kinda
cool.
did.
Like, we'll
He
go.
wasn't
They'll probably.
entirely wrong.
No, he wasn't. I was like, we'll go. They'll tell you that you have pneumonia. We'll get an antibiotic and we'll be on our merry way. And
They wanted to go swimming and have fun.
Nope.
And,
No.
yeah,
Does he have a sense of time? Like,
yes.
if you tell him 5 minutes, he knows more or less what that means. When does that happen?
It
With
depends.
Ethan, it
the
has
age,
not
yeah.
happened.
It depends on the
kid.
children. Like there's some
Yeah.
third graders that you could say 5 minutes and they would be like,
Right.
Uh,
Right.
Didn't you say by the time you left the hospital, Alex, that there were six families in there that were on vacation?
yeah,
Yeah.
there were
Kids that
6
had these
families
respiratory things?
Yeah, and
Yikes.
everybody was there for respiratory stuff, and every single nurse that came in, because he had a specific respiratory nurse, a nurse, an RN, and a doctor that was like on every shift that would come in and
Yeah.
do whatever, and every single one of them was like, we have not been this sick as a staff ever.
Wow.
They're
Yeah.
like, one of them was like, I had bronchitis for 3 weeks. One of them was like, I got pneumonia and I was out for a month. And so many of them were just like, this year has been exceptionally ridiculous with respiratory stuff,
Wow.
even in Florida.
Well, you've been coughing for 2 months, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had a cough since probably October. Although,
I've
Wow.
been coughing and my sinuses have been messed up for like half a month now. I don't
although
know.
I, as of 2 days ago, really am not coughing much
Oh,
anymore.
there you go.
That's good. That's
Like
that's
every
always a
once
good
in a
thing.
while there will be a cough, but it's like hardly, like maybe 5 times a day.
See, I
Rather
had that
than-
thing 2 years ago where I was coughing and
Yep.
it turned into pneumonia and I had to be on an
It was probably mycoplasma.
and I coughed and I think I coughed for 2.5 months. And then all of a sudden one day I was like,
I haven't
I've
coughed.
coughed in
coughing.
10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. That's what happened to me 2 days ago. I was like, I don't think I've coughed yet today.
Oh, I hate it. It's
And it's always
exhausting.
spot coughs, like suddenly something that happens in your throat that makes
Oh,
you cough, and then it goes away. It's
Yeah.
like I have no idea why it's connected.
I know.
So
But yeah, but I mean, he was in the hospital and I didn't say anything to really anybody about it because I didn't want to hear, oh, that's so scary.
mhm.
I was like, I don't
Right.
need that energy. I
Right.
don't need it.
Yeah.
Because one thing about me is I am an extremely emotional human being and
Are
very
you?
dramatic.
I don't know
in
where
normal
you
life.
get
all.
that from.
Not from this
In
family.
No.
a crisis, I'm your girl.
Get locked in.
Like a
I
diamond?
lock in and I am like, here's what needs to happen. This is what we're doing. Everything's going to be fine. What do you need from me? And so at the hospital the whole time, I just was like, all right, what needs to be done? We're awake. We're sleeping. You need to eat. We need to do this.
Yep, you were a rock.
Like, yeah.
Mhm.
And so the whole time I just was like, okay, we're here. It is whatever. And then like I posted on my Instagram about it after he was out of the hospital and it came flooding in. How scary! Oh, that's terrifying. And I was like, and he actually did really great though. Like he progressed really well the whole time that we were there, and he
He
was
did.
off oxygen for. So we went to the hospital Thursday night is when we were admitted, and then he got out Sunday morning. But he was off oxygen almost all day Saturday. So he was only on oxygen really for one full day. And they just kept on being like, everything's looking great and he's not wheezing and there's no sign of any like, and they're like, sometimes they regress and then they get a lot better all of a sudden and all this stuff. And he just kept on getting like better and better and better. So it was really encouraging. And he was in a really good mood the whole time,
Good.
except for there was like 5 to 10 minutes, 3 times a day where he had roid rage.
No.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
truly, like he just all of a sudden would be like, everything you're doing is wrong, and like screaming at me. And
Just need the whole stock of coins. Give himself.
and I text messaged my friend and I was like, wow, the like baby roid rage is wild, and she's like, oh yeah, it's pretty serious, and I'm like, well, it only lasts about 5-10 minutes, and I just kind of have to like let him yell, and then all of a sudden he's fine. So that was fun.
So
But yeah, I don't
what's going on with your nails? What's the story here?
What do you mean?
Your nails are those. Why are they done in that way?
They're
Christmas.
Christmas nails.
Oh, they're Christmas nails. Oh, yeah, obviously they're Christmas nails. I
Yeah.
should have known.
Yeah.
You should have
No.
known your Christmas was
Um,
there.
I was planning on going and getting my nails done with my mom when we were in Florida, but
Yeah,
Sage
lots of
messed
things
that
didn't
up.
that
work the
didn't
way-
happen. So actually, and like the whole time, the entire time Sage was in the hospital, the weather was terrible.
Oh,
It was
Yeah,
pouring
it
and
was
cold.
rained and
and
rained
oh,
and
how
rained.
bad is it? How cold was it?
No, it was like downpours.
Tell me how
For
cold it
3
was.
all
days.
day. No,
It wasn't cold.
Like, it
It
wasn't
just
cold,
wasn't
but
nice.
it was
Yeah.
pouring rain and super windy. So
Yeah,
it was like,
meanwhile, it's like
Yeah, it can rain.
feels
crazy
like
there.
minus 15.
Yeah,
but it was like you couldn't have got. It wasn't like, oh, we're missing all these beach days, or it was like we would
Yeah.
have been stuck inside anyway. Like maybe we would have gone to a movie. You know, like
I don't know.
I
It's
don't
still,
know.
it's like, it's still Florida.
Mhm.
It's like, I remember
I don't know.
we brought Melissa's mom and brother down to Florida like 4 or 5 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of rainy the entire time. And they were all like all disappointed that the weather was so horrible. And I'm like, it's 72 degrees out.
Right.
We can walk basically anywhere. You just need an umbrella.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't know.
This was like
You can't go to the beach, sure, but it's like
No.
still.
This you wouldn't want to walk
Well,
anywhere
when it
in
really
how-
pours, it pours like crazy
yes,
down there.
and it
Yeah.
was super windy too. Like a bunch of mom's giant plants got knocked over, so we were like,
Yeah.
we're really not missing much. Like we just would have been sitting inside watching TV a lot of the time anyway.
Yeah.
Like so, whatever.
Well, there's
Yeah, if you looked outside, I think there's a difference.
Today
Yeah.
is going to be lovely. I'm excited.
It's
It's
gonna
going to
be
be like
lovely
it's
at
going
8
to be
degrees.
It's going to be mid-20s all week and sunny.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. It's
20s.
gonna warm up.
Mid-20s,
I
yeah.
checked
It's
the-
going to eventually get there.
Right
But
now-
I love when we come into the building here, the staff, many of the staff are, I think, native Floridians,
Yeah.
or if they're from
just
anywhere, they're from south of here. So they've never, a lot of them have never even seen snow. And they a lot of times look at us and go, what's the temperature in Minneapolis? And I'll say 1, and they go, they can't even believe that people can live in it.
Well, that's like when I did an internship in New York. I was there over the summer, and people were like, "So, does it just snow all year long?"
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
like, "No, it's
all
not
year."
Antarctica. Like our summers are warmer than your summers."
Yep. It feels like
Yeah, they
negative
sure
4
are.
right now.
Yep,
Oh, it's
sure
lovely.
does.
The
So I
sun's out.
hope you two are staying hydrated in that heat in Florida.
Hydrated.
The sun
Today
is
is
out.
warm. Today's going to be 80.
Everything's beautiful.
Before we completely move off the subject, I do have to tell you my involvement, the most important moment of my involvement in Sage's stay in the hospital. So we go to the hospital. The first day he's in the hospital, and I'm just standing there, and Fawny goes, Bob, come here for a second. I said, okay. So I walk over in the corner, and she whispers to me, does this mean we're not going to Disney World?
Well, we were never going to Disney
were
World.
not going to
So.
go.
We were never going there anyway, but she was very, very upset. She thought we were going to do a surprise Disney World visit, and it didn't happen, and
No,
she was
she's-
not happy.
She's really been asking a lot about Disney World. And
Huh.
I'm like, sorry, Charlie, not happening.
Not this year.
Well, we could go.
We're not going this year.
Oh, that's right. Nana's being mean to everybody.
I'm
She's
being
like, why
really
not?
mean.
When are we going? Why aren't we going? When do we get to go? I was like,
Next year. We'll go next year.
That's
I
all
look forward
true.
to it for a whole year.
but I will say, I'm not sure if next year we will be going to Florida after Christmas because literally the last 3 years in a row, the trip to Florida, the first few days has been an absolute nightmare. Every
How
single
bad of a
year.
nightmare?
Last year,
I mean, the kid in the hospital's very bad.
That-
I would
Pretty
agree with
bad.
that.
Yeah.
Let's
this
hear about
year.
these other horrible.
But you could have
problems.
been, you would have been home with that same problem because he
Yeah.
was
Problem.
sick.
Yep.
I know, but still, like, I don't know. Just
And what were the other two?
so last year our flight was delayed. We got to the airport and our flight was delayed, I think like 3 hours. And we had the little kids in the airport for 3 hours and like whatever, it's fine. And then we get to Florida way later than we were supposed to. We didn't get in until like 9 p.m. And we get to the place that we're staying, and it's an apartment that mom and dad they did like a short-term rental on it. And it was the most disgusting
It was amazing.
apartment you could think of.
The most disgusting.
Not the most
I could probably
disgusting. Not
up
the
that.
most. So it wasn't like
Multiple times.
it wasn't like hoarder level, but the place was filthy.
I mean, we're college fraternities in it.
Maybe.
Okay.
There were literally blankets draped over the couch in multiple locations, and if you picked up a blanket, the couch was tan. It was like dark brown.
Oh, well then.
Yeah,
Like,
it
it
was
was
pretty gross.
truly
It looked great if you just walked in and looked at it.
Yes.
It was decorated super cute.
Mhm.
I mean, the sinks were clean, the bathrooms looked clean, but
which they actually weren't.
upon further investigation, the place was pretty good.
Was
Yes.
it worse than
It was-
last year's hotel room that you guys stayed in on the way down to Florida? The murder room you stayed in?
Oh no, nothing is as bad as the horrible hotel.
Yeah.
Remember when
No.
we pulled in somewhere outside of Atlanta, and the ceiling was black and looked like it was
Oh,
falling in.
That's right.
I was positive we were going to have black lung by the time we got out of there in the morning. I can't believe we stayed there. We should have just slept in the car.
I should have.
Well, that's
It was so disgusting.
we slept on top of the sheets in our clothes
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we were like, ew, like maybe the
Wasn't
sheets
there-
have not been washed. I don't know.
Didn't one of you find an old half a sandwich in the couch?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was under a bench. There
And
was-
by the way, this is at a very, very expensive place. This
Yeah, it was
wasn't
not cheap.
It was
Melissa
not
and I
cheap
stayed
at all.
there for like 2 months.
yes,
Yeah,
Well,
you did, yeah.
I talked to the people that rented it to us into cleaning it before
Yeah.
Andy and Melissa came down. I'm like, we aren't staying here unless it's cleaned. I know of a cleaning crew. 2 people went into a
One came
bedroom,
out.
small condo, 10 hours for 2 people.
10 hours.
And I personally took out 4 very large trash cans of old gross food in the cupboards, booze. There was booze bottles
There's booze bottles
that
everywhere.
had tons of dust on them, like they've been in there for years upon years upon years. I dumped all that out, took all that out,
Who
cleaned
buys
out the
liquor in the
cabinets.
rental
I
and
spent
leaves
probably
it?
5 hours just in the
people
kitchen.
do all the
Yeah.
time.
Huh.
How does
They can't fly it back.
Well, but drink it.
No, that's true too. My
people-
dad rented a house out. He owned a house in Aurora, Colorado, and he was taken over by this family, and everything was cool when the family took it over. Then the mom left, and it was the dad and 3 teenagers. Then the dad took off for a while, and it was 3 teenagers, all of which sold drugs apparently.
Oh boy.
nice.
And it took us 2
Colorado.
weeks to
What
clean
happened
that
there?
house. Okay. And the most interesting thing was the dog we found about a week and a half into the cleaning.
Alive?
Dog.
Oh, no.
Not-
No, you don't find a
oh.
dog a week and a half into cleaning that is in the house.
How did you not smell it?
I think it had been some time since the dog.
Oh my god!
You found a dead dog?
Yeah, we did.
Did you report those people to child
I
services?
don't know. You know, my
I
dad
hope.
broke down a couple of different times about because this had been his house for a long time, and he thought it was a good person or good people that had rented it. It was, but it was unbelievable. I remember spending all that time cleaning it. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, it was.
Yep.
It was.
Why do people get like that? Why
and
do
every
people
once in a while
do
people
that?
would show up at the door to buy drugs and didn't have any. Sorry.
because they're all high all the time. That's why.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
Drugged
you're
up
looking
people
for
don't really care about
Steve's Drug
hygiene.
Emporium. They're over on 17th now.
Yeah.
Yeah, geez.
That was before the dispensaries. So
My
that-
brother Daryl used to work for HUD
Oh,
in Minneapolis,
sure.
Oh,
and he'd
God,
go in and winterize homes
Yeah,
for
some of the
HUD.
stories.
Oh boy,
Yep.
yeah. One time he found something hanging from the doorway.
Not a person.
It was a person.
Oh,
It had been there for so long,
Oh, God.
you couldn't tell it was a person.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The stories he has about his HUD years. It's like, how can you go into these places without a hazmat suit, a couple of rifles?
Wow.
I hope the pay's good.
Yeah, that would change your perspective on life.
Yeah, I
they-
would say
It sure
so.
did.
They passed, you know.
I think the
passed
worst I ever saw when I was looking at houses, like foreclosures right after 2008. I think the worst I ever saw was there was a house that I went to that the front door was missing.
Oh.
Oh,
And the reason it was missing is because a family of raccoons had busted it down and decided to live there. They just like broke the glass, I guess,
Whoops.
and just decided and I was like, oh, hey guys.
I looked at
They
a
didn't
house-
bother me.
I looked at a house once where this giant dog seemed to keep slamming into the door, and it was like Cujo on the other
Yeah.
side of the door. It's like, nah, I don't No,
No.
not the
Not
place.
going in.
This
Nope.
isn't it.
No.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, as a former real estate agent, I can tell you, there's a lot of houses that
You see some
you
stuff.
really they really shouldn't be inhabited.
No,
But
they
that's how
should not.
people live.
And I remember we
Why?
saw this one place that just like
They don't care.
reeked of vomit.
Oh, Jesus.
I had to leave. I was like, I cannot do this.
There's this when I was in the hospital with Sage, and like he'd be asleep and I'd still be awake. I would like scroll through Instagram, and for some reason, this woman that does like free cleanings would keep popping up, and she like
Free cleanings?
yes, like
Just-
people.
It's her hobby?
No, like she would donate her services to people that they were
Oh,
like, my
yeah.
neighbor is whatever.
Oh, yeah. Like
Um,
old people, hoarders, that sort of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
And she would like fly out
Mm-hmm.
and like hire a crew, and they would clean these houses and stuff. And yeah, like I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
like,
Well, every once in a while when you go into a house where you're like almost gonna throw up, it's like you keep kind of heaving. So you
Yeah.
know.
well, you have to have
I rented a car once in northern Minnesota, dropped out the car and got a ride from the guy that was running the place to where my car was. And he was a chicken farmer.
Oh, no.
Oh my God,
chickens,
that I
yeah.
didn't throw up in his truck is the miracle of all time. Because I just the whole time was like,
Yeah. You
smell
don't want to
so
eat any
bad.
dogs that have been kept in a warehouse. They need to go outside.
Yeah.
Mom and I had a situation once where we flew down to Florida,
Mhm.
the two of us, for our Mother's Day trip. And we fly into Fort Lauderdale, and then we're like, oh, we'll take the train, the Bright Line.
did you take the right train?
Tra-la-la. Yes.
'Cause
Well, we
you're-
would have if somebody
take the
hadn't
bad
thrown
train.
themselves on the track and killed
Oh.
themselves in front of the train and
Oh,
shut the trains
God.
down for
Wow.
the rest of the
That
day.
happened a few times in a row.
Yeah,
It
and
happens
so
all the
then
time.
The train people, the Brightline people, are like, okay, we've all called you Ubers to take you to where you need to be, and it's a 45-minute drive from Fort Lauderdale to my parents' place, and the Uber picks us up, and I get car sick very easily, and I had to sit in the back seat, and it smelled so strongly of BO.
No.
And we were driving the entire time. In my head, I just was like, don't throw up, don't throw up, don't throw up,
Yeah.
don't throw
Yeah.
up.
Well,
And I didn't, but I had him drop us off probably 4 blocks from
no. Yeah.
the
All right,
I'm
I've
out.
reached my
condo.
limit.
Good.
And yeah, because like there was traffic, and he kept like stopping
Oh, God,
really
that's the
abruptly.
worst.
And I was like, I'm getting out. And Mom was like, what? And I was like, we're getting out right here. This is good. Thank you, sir. And it was like kind of raining. And I was like, I don't care. I need to be out of this vehicle.
I took the wrong train. Your mom told me to take the train to get there.
The tri-rail?
And I took the other one, and man, that was a different ride.
That's-
Don't take the
Tri-rail is-
tri-rail.
Don't even don't say the words tri
Oh,
or
God,
rail
that's right.
near Dan.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
took it once when Fawn was a baby, and I think it stopped 7 times,
Mhm.
and it was like
God.
20 minutes each
Mhm.
time, and,
Oh.
and it was just
Mhm.
Well, I was waiting for somebody to come on carrying chickens or, or
I know.
Probably
hay
has
or
happened.
something,
I would
you know.
not doubt.
Yes.
That was a different world.
Yep.
But, like all the Ubers now in Vegas, they smell like pot. So,
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sure.
and I'm sure they
Everything
Oh,
smells
God,
like pot.
yeah.
Everything smells
Everything.
like pot.
yeah,
I know there's
crazy.
so many times where you get out of your car
Yeah.
or your whatever, and you're like, it reeks of
Yep.
weed.
Where is that coming
I
from?
know. You're like, there's nobody around. Where, like, what?
At least the woman, or I don't know who does, who did. The
Well,
person,
okay,
you'd get
woman.
off the elevator on our floor, and the whole
Yep.
thing smelled like geef. I mean,
does.
all the time. It's like, does
It
this
does.
person ever not smoke geef?
A lot
That
of
was
I mean, do
people
they wake
try
up
to
at 4 in the
sleep or-
morning and smoke it?
That was Dad trying to get his beauty rest.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I was-
Oh,
it
I
was-
didn't smoke it. I chewed it.
Why would you ever smoke it when you can just have the
I
gummies?
agree.
Because
I
it's
It's bad for
agree.
your lungs, right?
Feel
Even
it faster.
Who
if you
knows?
smoke
Yeah.
it.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I remember I
I
saw
know,
a
it's
meme
terrible.
a while back that says it was something to the effect of like, people under 25 don't understand this, but the entire world used to smell like cigarettes.
Yeah.
Oh,
that is
God,
true.
yes.
And it's
Oh, yeah.
true everywhere.
Yeah.
You go into any office building, the entire thing smells like cigarette. Airports smelled like cigarettes. Every car
Everything.
smelled like cigarettes.
I know, and now you have like a guy
now it's-
walks past you that smells like cigarettes, and you're like, "Bleh."
Yeah, it's like this is unusual.
The boys used
But
to put their shirts over their nose.
Oh, yeah.
when
Yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
walked by.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh my God, your grandfather would have killed you both.
Yeah.
I still do
Let's
that.
get in that hot box truck and go for a ride.
Ugh.
I
Oh,
remember
God.
Shell. What was it? was his name was Sheldon, the guy that we used to
Oh, yes,
carpool.
Sheldon,
Yep,
yes.
he smoked in his car. You could tell.
Oh.
The Geo Metro.
Geo Metro.
One of
I know,
my
there's-
favorites of all time is watching Toots. I adored my mother.
She could smoke.
The amount.
Yeah.
She would be on the phone like this
with the cigarette.
with the cigarette, and then she'd talk, and smoke would come out for about 45 minutes. It's like, Jesus,
He had
where's
a
all that
talent.
smoke coming from?
Yeah.
He had a talent.
Yep.
Hello.
Somehow
hello.
she pulled out cigarettes from the pack that were already lit. It was amazing.
It's like,
Yeah,
It
I
never
don't know.
stopped.
he lit.
Wow.
Always.
I don't know how she did it.
Just light the entire pack, and then there you go. You don't need to wait.
So before the end of the show, did anybody watch that horrible, awful thing last night?
Nope.
Games.
I stayed in my bedroom. Dan was like very into it. He was like, I'm going to watch it. And I was like, it's too stressful.
The
I don't
football
want-
game?
Game or the,
The
Golden
Vikings.
Glove?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Golden Gloves. No, that game was.
Was it a game? I don't know.
Horrible.
It was.
Second
I
half.
had way higher expectations.
Yeah.
Well, everybody did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we
Poor
lost then?
Jefferson.
Yeah.
Jefferson looked like he was going to cry.
He
Well,
did.
yeah, they couldn't. He was open so many times, and
Yeah.
Oh, and he couldn't.
Darnold didn't have any time. That line was falling apart.
Terrible line.
It was bad.
It was a
very
bad
So
bad.
are we
game.
out then?
No, the playoffs
No.
start next week. But
We are
but
now the
we're
fifth
gonna
seed
be
We're
instead of
fifth
the
seed.
first.
And we have to
We're
go
gonna
on
have-
the road on
If
Monday.
we won that game, we would have been first seed and we would have had like home
A bye and home
a
field
bye
goal
week
away.
and home field
Yep.
advantage, and now we're fifth and we don't have a bye.
Yep.
And, yeah.
And I don't think we're going to beat LA.
Who knows? It depends on who
Who
shows
knows?
up. If
Yeah,
if
that's
the team
true.
that I think they are shows up, they're going to win.
But
And
it
if
is. But
last
it
night
is.
shows up, then
What was the deal with the Lions? Were supposed to be down so many people because they had so many injuries, and
Yep.
still
They
they
were.
kicked our ass from here to yeah.
well, the first
how
half
things
was
happen.
close. I wish we had gone after gotten the points each time and just gone for the field goal each time.
Yes.
Not by one, but these guys who like to go on fourth down, they're smarter than me, I guess.
I
No,
guess.
it was a really bad game. Yeah, the Lion you bailed.
I went
Then
to bed.
then the Lions
I left. Or I didn't watch it.
got another touchdown, and then
Yep.
I bailed. So that was like 11 something our time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I went to
don't
the
know.
very end, watched
So
it
what
all.
was the final score?
9 to
9 to
30,
30.
36 or
Oh.
something.
Oh,
I think it was-
31.
yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was.
What'd you
Okay.
get, Andy? What is it?
I checked the score when I woke up this morning, and I was like, "Whew!"
Yeah.
Let's
I think
see,
it's
9 to 31.
yeah.
31.
31 to 9.
Oh,
Yeah, and that was mostly because the touchdowns in the second half, but that was
we just never got any momentum.
Never.
Nope.
Yeah, everybody looked like crap.
Is
They
Darnold
just-
part of the problem?
I think it
He
was
was
the
a-
line.
Well, he
He
does.
was
The line's
overthrow- but
terrible.
he was overthrowing the ball when he did throw it.
Because he
But
never
we've
had
had-
time.
but-
He didn't never had any time. Every time he
No.
stepped in the
Well,
pocket,
that's
the
one
puck was
thing.
gone.
The
Well, and here's
Vikings
the
have
thing.
not protected the quarterback
Well, they've-
all year, really.
Injuries have played a big role in
Oh,
that.
jeez, I have to leave.
So
Oh.
you have to leave.
Where do you got to
I have
go?
a doctor's appointment
Yeah.
at 11.
Get her nails done.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Just to swap out the Christmas nails for some Valentine's Day nails.
That actually will
There
be
you
happening.
Oh, I can't wait.
Valentine's Day nails coming up.
I already have
Birthday
big plans.
birthday
I was
nails.
gonna say maybe birthday nails first, and then Valentine's.
Oh yeah, that's right. Birthday nails. I guess cake and balloons.
I don't know.
Please tell the
Little
kids how
cakes.
disappointed I am that they did not bring back a croissant.
Yeah. Well, one Sage could eat in the hospital. He ate 3 croissants
Nice.
in one
He loves
couple-hour
Louis.
period.
Oh yeah.
He does love it. Hey, you know who loves Louis as much? There's Sage,
Fun.
and there's Fawn, and there's Jude.
Oh,
Jude.
Jude
Every
likes-
time we
Oh,
walk past
God.
Louis, he's like, "Let's go to Louis.
Oh, we gotta go."
I
Nice.
can have a crumb."
Mhm.
He
Poor
loves
Judy.
Louis.
He does.
Doesn't
love
get any
Louis.
crumbs anymore.
No question about
It
it.
is.
But
They are really good.
God, we only got 3 minutes left of the show. What?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that flew by.
Well, it'll be interesting what happens with the Vikes. I don't think they're gonna.
No, it's,
Well, it's hard going on the road. I mean,
Yep.
that's what cost the Patriots a couple of Super Bowls was you lose that game and boom, it's a tough road to go through other places.
very, very true. And I still believe before I die, the Vikings will be the very last team in NFL history to never win a Super Bowl.
Well, possibly.
Maybe
Yeah, possibly.
the last ones.
They're just going to torture me for the rest of my life.
There's
I don't know.
a
I'm sure there's some franchises that went defunct without a win, right?
Mm,
I don't know.
I'm
Let's
sure.
see.
Yeah,
Question.
List of- there
Who's
are
actually gone
5.
defunct in the NFL?
There are 5 of them who have gone defunct, apparently. Oh, wait, no. There's actually quite a few.
55.
10 have gone defunct.
Who
Oh,
are
wait,
they?
no. Actually, it's... Well, I mean, it depends on, like...
Like moved?
Are you counting, like, the Cincinnati Celts from 1921 to 1921?
Cincinnati
We're
Celts.
going way
Their
back.
season.
Probably not. So, I mean, actually, there's a whole lot of them, but most of them were from the 20s and lasted for, like, a year.
Because the last team that the move would have been what the what was the team that moved? I'm trying to think who's moved.
Well, the last one to actually fold was the Dallas Texans in 1952. So
Oh,
it's
I
been a
remember.
long
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
since
I
one
heard
of
about
them
them.
have actually folded.
Wow.
And the New York Bulldogs before the year
Okay.
before that.
New York Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Never even
Baltimore Colts, Boston Yanks, Brooklyn Tigers.
Boston Yanks.
Yeah.
That would be the
Yeah.
worst name
That
of
doesn't
any
make
team of all
sense.
time.
Or
That's
Boston.
terrible.
You know, the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah,
Yep.
they became the Indianapolis Colts. They moved in the middle of the
Oh,
night.
that's right.
Yep.
They moved
Yep.
in the middle of the night. That's right. I forgot
How
about
about
that.
the Dayton Triangles?
The Dayton Triangles. Yeah.
As in Dayton,
What?
Ohio.
Yeah.
Yep. 9
Not
years. Dayton,
Dayton, Minnesota.
Triangles.
Where you guys still
Yes,
live.
Dayton, Minnesota had its own football team.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
The Columbus
All right.
Panhandles.
Not the what?
Columbus
Panhandles.
Wow.
Oh.
My favorite
What?
is the Tonawanda Cardex Lumberman.
Where's
I
Tonawanda?
will
New
root
York.
for that
Okay.
team.
Yeah, there you go. Kind of go on.
Tonawanda Cardex Lumberman.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, why not?
All right. Any closing words? It's great to be back. I gotta say again, honest to God, 2 weeks was too much to be off the show. There's no question about it. I'll never do that again because each day it's got worse and worse and worse. Like,
Well, I think we should do an experiment. I think you should start your 100 milligrams again and see how the shows go. For the
Yeah,
next-
really. Not well, I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
It would literally be a,
what? What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, we think Ethan's psychic abilities are starting to manifest.
Oh, cool.
They are.
You think good?
Why?
Yep.
Why?
So we told him Melissa's mom was coming over.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay, grandma's going to be here at some point. And, we got all excited. And then later he goes, grandma's here. And we're like, she is? And we look out in our driveway and she's not. And we're like, grandma is not here. 30 seconds later, she pulls up in our driveway.
Wow.
Oh God.
Yeah. It was
Whoa.
literally not even a minute. He had
He's got the
predicted.
bohemian magic.
Let's
Yeah.
start looking at those stock markets.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, start having him
She
do some
somehow,
picks.
I don't know if she honked her horn a mile away and he heard it or something, but it was very weird.
I've got
Well,
some teams
Jude-
to run by him.
Jude knows when I
Yeah.
pull up outside
Oh,
the
yeah.
door to doggy daycare. He
They hear
starts
something.
barking and
Oh, yeah.
running to.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
can tell.
I mean, it's,
Colin,
like, pretty far away.
when Melissa leaves, like to go to the grocery store or something, like she'll put him down and she'll be like, okay, he's been fed. I just put him down. I can go to the grocery store. As she's pulling out of the driveway, he can tell when it's her car because
Wow.
her car is a hybrid. So
Oh,
it makes
sure.
that like high pitched
Yeah.
whining
Oh
sound.
yeah.
Wakes
yeah.
them up every time.
Wow. Well,
Yep, they can hear these things and they pay attention. Even at 3 months old, they know
Well,
somehow.
He's going, there's my survival.
Yep, exactly. He's just freaking
Leaving
out.
me.
well, welcome back. I got to go to work.
We all got to go to work. It's great to be back, and I will never take 2 weeks off again because I got depressed as
Never
hell the last
again.
few days.
Oh, like I said, let's give it a shot without the 100 milligrams.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, probably true.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye. Off with the light.
Got a picture in my pocket reminds me of this one was before. Every time I hear the same reminds me how you talking